during the pottery, we have the kachi mitti in our hands. So we can really shape them the way we want to. Say, challenges are actually different. Sometimes a child who writes very brilliantly is not in the mood to write. When you enter the classroom, you see different things, happening in the class. What is the mood of the class today? Innocent. They would actually show it on their face. If they are sad, they will look sad. If they are happy, they will look happy. And if they are excited, they will not stop shouting.
We have a very special guest today. She is a teacher and her name is Mansi Hudda. She is from Delhi and we'll be knowing all about a day in the life of a teacher. What are the challenges faced by a teacher and how do they deal with a student? Because this is a very less see a lot of podcasts today, but you rarely get to see any podcast on a teacher who is sharing her or his life. Right? So we have with us Mansi Hudda. Welcome to the Indian Warrior Talk Show.
Thank you so much, Himanshu.
So, please, can you tell a little bit about your background? Like, how was your childhood, and how did you landed in the teaching field?
Okay. So childhood was mostly with the grandparents actually. So the my grandfather was in this education field only. He was a librarian. So yeah, those books and everything was around me from the very starting. And he used to push me to write things, to know things, and of course that teacher game, obviously that happens for every child. And when I grew up, so the first opportunity that came to, me was this only. And of course, one of the reason why I landed in this field was my family also. I would not lie about it because there was one, their inclination towards this profession. So they suggested me. But yes, gradually, I fell in love with the profession.
Can you share some of the challenges which you faced during the journey of becoming a teacher? Before the exams you appeared, and what was the process? Like, if anyone wants to become a teacher, so how they should approach?
Okay, right. So when I actually joined, I have done my DLEd from Delhi University. So this is a 4-year course which Delhi University, takes up, and it takes up a examination for this, an entrance examination, and then afterwards you are eligible to teach the primary classes. For government, of course, for government schools, you need to appear for a separate exam, which is under, taken by DSSB. But yes, a good amount of, that zeal to become a teacher develops within this time only when you do such training courses. So this is very important. So if people are actually approaching some private institutions and thinking that they will land up in this profession, it is actually very wrong. You really need to, connect yourself with the core. Then only you can teach kids. Otherwise, it actually is very difficult. So initially, it was very challenging for me also because I am not, a person who used to love this or whose first preference was this. So initially, it was very difficult. The first and the second year of my VLED was actually quite challenging because there were a lot of internships and with the primary kids only. So grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 kids. So it was challenging. But then gradually, when you get to know everything, theoretically and practically also, that's when you realize that, if you are able to do something very qualitatively, so you might have a connection with this thing. So even now also, I don't call myself a very great teacher, but yes, with all the love that I receive from my kids, I can definitely say that I'm doing something nice at least. So yes, in order to land up into a government job, there is DSSB and some other institutions are also taking exams. But yeah, in a good private sector school, they might conduct some interviews, some screening tests. It depends from school to school.
And I think it's just the beginning for you, and maybe down the line, after 5 years, 10 years, you'll become a great teacher also. As you said, you not consider yourself as a great teacher now, but we never know after 5 years whether life will be. So, can you share about the teaching philosophies which are there at present in the world? Because we see in India before in ancient time, gurukuls used to be there, but now the teaching philosophy and the style has changed. And if we compare to the different parts of the world, it's totally different what's there in India, right? Most of the countries, they use the high-tech gadgets and technology to teach their students and the kids. But if we talk about India, so it's not the same. So how the Indian education is different from the different parts of the world, and what are some of the different methodologies and the philosophies of teaching.
All right. So if we see for India, we already have a lot of, a bunch of people who are not even, nearer to this field of education, let alone, studying in schools. There are places where this idea of school is a very remote idea. They don't even know that, such things exist. So yes, if we compare, if we, start comparing, then of course other countries are doing quite well and they are using a lot of other techniques. But if we go by what used to be our sole motive as Indians, हमारा जो basic idea है of education, which of course is given by all of these famous thinkers, Aurobindo ji, Gandhi ji. So if we go by these philosophies, the core idea is that a teacher really doesn't need to be a teacher. He or she needs to be a facilitator with the students. If you're going to, really try to teach kids, I don't think so. We can teach anyone anything. We can just facilitate them with their learning process. And in the process, maybe you'll learn something new because at times this happens that, a kid will come and ask something that you don't really know. And it can even be a very basic question. A grade 5 student can ask something that, you don't know. So it is really not a process of teaching, it is a process of facilitating. Now, as you asked that, the technologies and everything that the other countries are using. So as of now, since the COVID era, we all have shifted to online, mode. But at the same time, if, presently also we, in November only, this pollution situation came and there were online classes. So, and right now also the hybrid classes are going on, but still a general trend is this only the EWS category kids are not able to attend those classes, more or less because of less availability of gadgets at home or whatever the reason may be, but they are not able to do it. So we, in a manner, all these technologies, of course, they add on, the quality of teaching. But if we look at the core idea is that only when a person who is willing to, discover things with kids sits with those kids and try to then, bring out meaning out of something. That is what I believe the core ideology is. And, there may be thousands of thinkers that we have read in BLED, BEd, and all those training exams, exams and courses also. But the core idea remains the same. I never used to learn any answer, when exams used to come in my BLED and BEd time. The reason was this only, I could, gauge the main idea that, that this is the core idea that every thinker is actually trying to lay the, idea upon. So that is what I think for now.
That time before 10 to 15 years, this type of technology was not there, which is present at present, right? People have the access of the YouTube, and they have a lot of online edtech companies are there. So before 10 to 15 years, these things were not there. So how do you think? How do you feel that the system of education has changed over the years in terms of technology?
So the major difference that has come is let's just take an example from what our parents only share that how their schools used to be. Some good changes have also occurred. For example, the idea of corporal punishment is now totally gone out of the picture. So that is a very positive change that has come from the old times to the new one because it was actually very, very horrific. The kind of dealing people used to do with kids. But at the same time, if we see the equality of connection, that kind of connection that we want to build with our kids, so most of the studies are now being done in the online mode or with the computer, wherein the child is facing the screen, and of course the child is getting everything, feedback and marks and everything. But at the same time, that personal touch is not there. So yeah, a child can learn about farming, seeds, etc. Let's just say example of these. I mean, I'm just taking an example, but will never be able to understand the value. So earlier, I believe the value system used to be very strong. As we talk with our, our teachers, their value system is very strong. And if we talk with today's generation, so somewhere the values are, losing its core. So I believe some things have happened for good, and some things have really, they really don't need to change. Some things are good in their customary ways only, the ritualistic way only, the way it used to happen.
What are some of the challenges you have faced as you are a teacher for the kids? And I know it's not very easy to handle the kids, right? So, what are some of the challenges you face in your daily life, in your daily teaching classes that the kids throw at you.
Right. Okay, so I have at present 42 kids in my class, and I would say that 42 of them are 42 different characters in their own movies.
Oh my.
They are their own stars, and something or the other is happening in their own movie. And when you enter the classroom, you see different things, happening in the class. So the first thing that happens in the morning is to just have a look at them and you know just identify that what is the mood of the class today, what is actually someone feeling, because it is these kids are very innocent. They would actually show it on their face. If they are sad, they will look sad. If they are happy, they will look happy. And if they are excited, they will not stop shouting. They will not sit. So first of all, yes, this is a challenge to channelize the whole energy, because 42 different kinds of energies, and to bring them at one place, that is the first task for the day. That maybe sometimes it might be with a game in the morning. Sometimes it may be just the when the bell rings, so it is a reminder for them that they have to get back. Or maybe it is sometimes a pep talk that I have to give to them, that every morning we don't need to really discuss our rules. So yes, the first challenge is this. And apart from this, in daily my routine, I would say challenges are actually different. Sometimes a child who writes very brilliantly is not in the mood to write. So the other day, that child is not writing something, or maybe, showing signs of, a withdrawal from the class. So there you need to, step in and talk to the child, tap into the feelings. What has happened? What has not happened? What is wrong? I mean, there might be a case, that at home things are not fine. So yes, the overall mood of the class also, and individually also, we need to really tap in with the students. Apart from this, some students have some learning gaps also. And also now, since the concept of inclusion has come, so we have special kids in our class also. Mainstreaming is also happening. So always, I'm always trying to inculcate everything related to. So I have a child in my class who has Down syndrome. So of course, she is having a different altogether syllabus that is taken care by the counselor. But for the mainstreaming purpose, she sits with me for like 90% of the day. She is with me only. So if let's just say we are doing some activity, and of course the child cannot really go into writing details of answers. So according to her skills, I really need to plan it every day. So let's just say we are celebrating Earth Day in school, and n number of activities are planned. So for that child, I really need to think through what all things I are in my power, that I can handle her in a better manner. So this. Apart from this, if I talk about the mood to study also, every child is not really, some of them are very, moralistic. They have a very high moral value. But it may be because of the parents also, because some parents are very strict with all these rules. So this also is, shown in the class as well. You can see the, value system at home, and then there is a shadow of those values in the kids also in the classroom. So some are very, rigorously ready to do mechanical things. Some are not. So gauging them accordingly, taking their attention to that one place at least, for some time, so that the core idea, whatever the lesson plan is, at least I can deliver that. And then, giving them different tasks for the day, because their energies are different. Some children are like this. Let's just say a writing task is going on, so some are busy writing, and they will write endlessly for 1 hour, because they want to write the best of their handwriting in that notebook. But some are okay with bad handwriting, and they want to do something else after that. So I would suggest, let's just say if there's a child who's very naughty, so I have actually asked him to bring chess and Rubik cubes to the classroom. So whenever his work is done, I will hand over it to him because he enjoys it. So these are the different day-to-day challenges which come every day. But yeah, they are actually very
Well,
enjoyable moments as well.
it's very enjoyable as well as very fun, but side by side, it's very challenging also to handle everyone. And we considered school as a temple, right? So, how do you think that schools can make a difference in creating a youth that builds the great nation? Like,
Okay. So as you know, I am from a school which is based, the Air Force school only. So the management is of Air Force. the core values are actually this only, that all these days which in other schools might not be celebrated with this much vigor, like Army Day or Armed Forces Flags Day or Vijay Kargil Vijay Divas. These days might not be celebrated with that much enthusiasm in other schools, but yes, these values are very intact in ours, because again, the kind of structure that the school has. So these values are very intact, and there I mean, there are so many activities and so many things which keep on happening for the kids only to, uh, brush up on those, values again and again, so that they, do not divert from that. Because there are times when, of course, kids are kids, they will be exposed to, I don't know, whichever kind of environment after the school. So to channelize that energy, that is very important. And I believe till grade 5 also, it is we have, as we say na, during the pottery, we have the kachi mitti in our hands. So we can really shape them the way we want to. Grade 5 kids are
Correct.
actually in that age group wherein we give them an incentive, they will listen to us. But afterwards, when they grow up after 13 or 14 years of age, they get into that age group wherein, we can't really, give them a task and they will do it, or they will listen to us. So till grade 5,
Correct.
all these values as you are talking of, through activities, maybe through their songs also. So we have this Air Force song also. So they all remember it by heart, because this happens every Thursday in school. So and the meaning discussion on the meaning of the Air Force motive, or motto, and the other armed forces mottos also. So this keeps on happening, and me being a personal admirer of all these things, so I take these days personally very seriously, and I really take extra time for my kids to actually motivate them. And when they after the after, let's just say, a PPT was discussed or something, and after that when they come up and say, "Ma'am, I want to be a fighter pilot," or "I will be this and that," it is actually kind of very fulfilling at the end of the day. It brings a smile to my face all the time.
Correct. And I believe that till grade 5, it is the basement, right? The more stronger the basement is, the more strong the building will be, right? So, what advice would you give to anyone who wants to become a teacher from your side?
Okay. The core advice is that if you actually do not want to, learn and facilitate kids, please don't be a teacher. Because initially, as I was sharing, I also faced a lot of challenges keeping up with the energy of that course, because that course is this DLED thing. This course is actually very rigorous, trying to make teachers only, out of that person. So even if you don't feel like becoming a teacher, at the end of the course, I believe most of us, like 90% of us, could actually could get those skills, because it is very rigorous. So you gradually, develop that relationship. So for those who are aspiring teachers, and even, if you are thinking just for the money, or just for that part that, we'll be able to make some money, good money out of it, and, it is just a half day job, please do not think it, because it is actually not. It is a whole day's journey which you will be, reliving in different manners, because as I told you, the mood of the class, it is different every day. You cannot be a corporate wala person. The person opens the laptop and then does his or her work, completes the assignment, and then done for the day. It cannot be in this manner. If a kid needs help, you really need to help that kid. And if that zeal is not in you, if you don't feel like that, I don't think so that you'll be able to be a good teacher. So my advice is this only, that first of all, try to connect with this profession. And if you do, then only go for it. Otherwise, there are actually so many other professions which you can tap in with your degrees.
What are your some of the hobbies apart from teaching? How do you spend your day? And please tell about that.
Okay, so I love traveling and reading. Traveling, of course, I believe everyone loves it, but yeah, depending upon the time and time frame and the other things keeping in mind. But yeah, I travel relatively good with my expectations. And second one is reading. Then I also love sketching, but not very professionally. I'm not very professionally good at it. But yes, in that manner, when I need a personal therapy. So yeah, that's when I tap in with the sketching part. So yeah, these things I love. Sometimes I also love listening to the music also, just some Sufi music. So these are some of my hobbies that I do on Saturdays and Sundays whenever I get time.
some of the most beautiful places you have visited, and how was your experience, please? I would love to know
Okay.
about that.
Okay. So I visited. Actually, I went there 2 years back. It is a fort, Nahargarh Fort, in Jaipur only. So I wasn't expecting, this the view that I saw. Actually, I was assuming it will be a fort and it will be a historical monument. I will go there, read some, images and this and that. Like the way these walks are, the historical places are. So I went there and I saw that it was actually at a very high, at a good height actually. And when it was evening, the whole city was actually lit and it was quite visible from there. Like, there were stars scattered and I was actually above that area. So stars were scattered, and it looked to me as if I am looking at the stars. So yeah, that was one very beautiful experience. And because it was unexpected, I did not know it will look like this. And somehow, when I looked down, it was so beautiful, so beautiful. So yeah, this was one of the most memorable places I have visited. Apart from this, I would also say there is this. I went to Shimla with my mother, so I took my mother to hill station for the very first time. She hasn't been to any hill station, they say, in our North India. So we went there. We had a very good time, and there we went to a temple called Jakhu Temple. It is a Hanuman temple, Hanumanji temple, and there is a very big Pratima idol over there in the middle of a very high mountain over there. So that was also very scenic, very scenic. So these two, just when you asked the two most beautiful places, it just popped my mind.
Okay, that's the about the first one which you mentioned. You were not expecting. So I believe
Yeah,
that expectations lead to disappointment, right? Expectations lead to
right,
disappointment. If we
right,
expect
absolutely,
too much from anything, and if it doesn't goes that way, then we are disappointment. So
right,
we should
right,
be not expecting too much from anything, right? And just to
right.
avoid the disappointment in life. So that goes in life also. Life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that should be the life's mantra also. That whenever I went there second time as well, this Nahargarh Fort, and this time I was very prepared. I took my friends over there, and one of my friends, it was her birthday. So I was very excited that, I will show you this and that because I had a set expectation, set a bar that had been set 2 years back when I went there. So this time we went there, and the food was not very good. So their faces were like, the dinner
Oh
is
my
not
God.
very, very fine. So I was like, yeah, this happens. When the expectation is there, something will be ruined. And when it was completely, unexpected, even the mojito that I had at that time was so, amazing. It felt so amazing and so relieving at that time. So yeah, this follows in life also when we are thinking of moving on a set pattern and the things don't happen our way. So we get disappointed. And that is where I think the problem begins.
Correct. And anything in your bucket list which you would like to tick mark in your coming future, like the traveling places or something like that? Is there anything?
Yes, there are many. Actually, I haven't traveled very, much. So, for the south part, I really want to visit the Adiyogi statue, which is there, and the night show. I have seen so many reels now that my mind is totally corrupted. That this is something that I need to see. I think, need generation is coming from Instagram now. So that is one place. Apart from that, the toy train, in Shimla also, I think it runs. But yeah, apart from Shimla in the Northeast also. So that toy train I want to, travel in. And I am a very big fan of Christmas time also. So there is a place called Lapland in the northern area, Arctic Circle. And it is also called the Christmas village during this time. So yeah, I really want to, fulfill my childhood dream of meeting, maybe not meeting Santa, but at least being, in his home during the Christmas time.
And also, we have to be a dreamer. And it's not like we reach at 60 and we did not do anything in our life. Because we see in villages, people take birth there and they die there. They don't go
Yes,
away.
I sometimes think of it. I wrote a poem about it when I was a kid. I think I was in ninth or 10th. It was actually about rainy season only. It was raining outside, so I felt like writing something. It was not actually a poem, but a piece of writing, something like that. So I wrote about this only that some people are not even able to experience the different kind of rains that is what I wrote at that time. It was, I think, ninth or tenth. I was in at that age group. So it was this only, that many of the people, as you said, are are being born at a place, and then they are probably not even moving an inch from their own area, and then dying there, fulfilling, of course, the social expectations, which are necessary, but then doing nothing for oneself. That is very frightening.
You also mentioned about books as your hobby, right? Reading books. So can you share and recommend a few of the books which has changed your life and has inspired you to become a better version of yourself?
Okay. So it was during after my BLEd got completed, and the next course I opted was MA in political science, but that was through distance mode, because for a year or so, my family suggested me to take some coachings for this these exams only. DSSB and CTET also goes on hand in hand, with all these exams. So my family suggested me to go for coaching. But that time, because I am not a kind of person who can just sit and wait for something to happen, and the exam notifications and all these things, as you all as you know, it is very tiring. The mind gets tired to wait for the notification, and then that zeal also dies in some time, that you have to prepare. That is also something which is churning our minds at that time, that you have to keep up the preparation also, you have to keep the motivation also very high, and you also have to be patient enough to wait for that one notification, and then follow the whole timeline of filling the form, then waiting for the admit card, giving the exam result, and everything. So at that time, I was searching for different things for my mind to actually relax somewhere. So that is wherein I discovered these genre of books, these self-help books basically. So I read at that time, I read The Secret, which is very famous. And actually, it had become very famous at that time on social media. So I read that. It was actually a good read. It helped me. And after that, I read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, which was again an amazing story. Then I read afterwards. Actually, I read all some five books on these things only, which were self-help books. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I read that as well. And after that, I shifted my reading genre to to stories, to a little sad story. So I read The Thousand Splendid Suns by Khalid Hosseini. So it was also very touching, but at the same time, giving a newer perspective to me. So these are some books which, I mean, I read similar kinds of books as well, but yeah, these were the top picks from that time, which, when you asked, so these came to my mind immediately. And abhi filhal ke liye, I have just started with some new kinds of books. That is also because actually the social media only has promoted it, but in a manner it is actually good as well. We get to know about so many different things which we might not read if we were not literature students. Let's just say. So I recently finished a very short story by Fyodor Dostoevsky. It is White Nights, and it was also beautifully written, however, very sad, but a very poetically written story. I would say the words were flowing. So if someone is into philosophy or reading something which has a lot of layers on it, you need to put a lot of energy to even read a single sentence. So yeah, that is something I would suggest, that you can go for it also.
So it was a very nice discussion with you and about your life and life in a day of a teacher, about your hobbies and about traveling. At the end of the discussion, would you like to share a message to the youth?
Okay, so I would say, please go old school, because there is a lot to explore in our old things, in our old methods. I am a person who does that, and I really enjoy this. I hope that this generation, the generation which is just coming on the front line now, realizes this, and just doesn't blindly follow the Western culture just because it is there, in front of them. Like, the plate is ready. The Western culture plate is very ready in front of them. So I just hope they do not grab the plate in the first, offer only. They try to explore what is there, what is there in the past, what their family values are, and I hope then they will follow, and live their life, and rather lead their life in a better manner.
Correct, correct. Very rightly said. And I believe it's one life and we have to make it great. Because being a teacher is not very easy. Most of the people give up in the beginning, and you have thought to continue, and let's see how it goes, and maybe life will throw different opportunities at you and we never know where you land up in the future. So thank you so much
Absolutely.
once again, Mansi, for your time, and it was very fruitful and very insight discussion with you on a life of a teacher, and I hope it inspires the coming teachers of our country, and you guys, I mean, the teachers are doing wonders, and in making the nation great nation, making India a great nation. So thank you so much once again, and I hope it's not the last time we are connecting. We will come up with the next topic again very soon.
Surely. Thank you so much, Himanshu, for actually inviting me because when we had the discussion, I said that I am not someone who is very famous or, who has written books or something. But yes, I really believe so that the, primary grade teachers, they really need to be, given the right kind of attention because they are actually having the, as you said, the neve of the country in their hands. So I believe they also, deserve the same attention as any other profession we have.